Hi and welcome to Daily TFT Tips. Today we're going to be talking about the augment Build Different. Build Different is a super interesting augment. It's one of the players, I would say it's one of the favorite for a lot of high elo players if it comes down to getting a win streak or playing for top 4. So what does this augment do? Your units with no traits active gain 400 health and 60% attack speed. Now initially there has been a lot of confusion regarding this augment, what is a trait active, who actually benefits from this augment, but overall I would say it's pretty straightforward, so I'll just go over everything that you need to know. So here we have a bunch of units on the board, and on the left side you can sort of like make a difference between traits that are considered activated and traits that are considered not activated, so they're grayed out. So as a general rule of thumb, if the trait is grayed out, that means that the units who are part of this will receive the effect. So as a short example, we have Zillion here on the board. Zillion is a Clockwork Innovator, but Innovator is not activated and Clockwork is not activated. So as a consequence, right now he should be receiving 400 health and 60% attack speed. Okay, so this is with normal traits, but there's also a few units that have sort of a special trait. So for example, we have these 4 legendaries. Usually the special trait tends to be with the legendary units. So we have the Glutton trait for Tamkench, the Transformer for Jace, Rival for Jinx, but she has a special rule, and Mastermind for Silco, which means that if you put these units on your board, it's always impossible for them to gain Build Different, so these types of legendaries usually are avoided. Though you occasionally will see Silco being played in late game Build Different comp, but I would say it's somewhat rare to see Jace and Tamkench because they don't really benefit that much from the augment. So now here's an interesting one, and this one you should definitely remember, because both of these units are pretty powerful in Build Different comps, which is Jinx and Vi. So the thing about Jinx and Vi is that they have the Rival trait, and the way the Rival trait works is that Jinx and Vi, they gain bonus abilities, just as a very short example, but if you put a Vi on the board, she only has 20 mana. But if you have Jinx and Vi on the board, she has 40 mana, right? But the interesting part is that the Rival trait deactivates if you play both of them. And now this in return has a positive interaction with Build Different. So what you can do in the late game in a Build Different comp is that you combine Jinx with Vi. This way you deactivate their solo trait, the Rival one, and now both of them will benefit from the Build Different, which in most cases is quite worth it. I mean, considering 400 health and 60% attack speed is definitely nothing to sneeze at for a Jinx, so it's something you should consider when you're playing this trait in the late game. So to continue with the special rules, so what about Colossus? So the thing about Colossus is they work a little bit like this. If you hover over the ability, it says innate. Colossus are bigger and more powerful. They gain 800 bonus health and immunity to crowd control effects. And Colossus require 2 team slots. So the thing is, an innate isn't really considered as a trait on the left side, which means that if you play a single Colossus on your board, then he will benefit from Build Different. And the trait will only be considered active if you put a second Colossus on your board, which now activates the trait, and the actual effect of the Colossus trait is that they take 25% less damage. But in most cases, Colossus aren't really units you're looking to play in Build Different, because Build Different is all about playing a lot of units, so more units actually benefit from the bonus HP and attack speed. So, but it's useful to know. It's a question that pops up from time and time again. So yeah, okay, so we still have a few more interactions to go. So let's talk about Socialite. So the thing about Socialites is, for example, Seraphine or Gnar or Senna, doesn't really matter. So the thing is, like, Socialite is considered, I mean, Socialite activates the moment you have a single Socialite on the board. So what's going to happen is the moment you put a Socialite on the board, they will not benefit from Build Different. So it doesn't matter how many you put on the board. The moment you put one on the board, the trait will be considered activated. So yeah, sometimes the question pops up whether or not, for example, if I put a Jinx on the Socialite Hex, will she end up losing the build different or anything like this because she benefits from the Socialite Hex? But no, it is only the Socialite units that will end up not receiving anything from build different. So if you really care for like having the Socialite Hex and the 15% bonus damage, then feel free to put one of them on the board. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend putting too many on the board, or I wouldn't recommend that much playing Socialites anyways and build different comps. So we're almost at the very end. So I also wanted to mention, I guess it's an honorable mention, which is the Innovators. So the thing about the Innovators is like this. Well, the innovation doesn't really have any traits, so it doesn't share any traits. So it benefits from build different. That's a pretty positive thing, right? Well, it means you're playing Innovators, so all of their traits activated, so all of them don't benefit from build different. So it's fun that it works, but wouldn't recommend it. So just to wrap up this video, there's, aside from the innovation, there's two more honorable mentions I wanted to give out. One of them goes to the target dummies. So the augment is called the Phony Frontline, and it spawns two target dummies. And similar to the innovation, target dummies don't have a trait, which means they will gain the bonus effect. So target dummies don't, well, they get the attack speed steroid, but obviously it doesn't help them because they can't attack, but they do get the bonus HP, and a little bit more bonus HP together with the target dummies isn't anything to sneeze at. So it is definitely, in some cases it can be quite helpful to combine those two. And my final honorable mention is Double Trouble. So Double Trouble is awesome with build different, and it's definitely something you should look to combine. So what is Double Trouble? Well, if you put two copies of the same champions, they gain a very powerful buff, which is like a bunch of AD, AP, armor, and magic resistance. So the thing is, like, this works great with build different because it makes your life so much easier. Not only is Double Trouble one of the best augments in the game, but also just consider something like this. If you play two Talons and no Assassins, and you make sure you don't run 3 Debonaires, then both Talons end up benefiting from the HP and attack speed steroid from build different and from the Double Trouble steroid. Also, it makes your life so much easier because it's much easier to fill up your board. Something people struggle with build different is that they don't know which units to add, right? It's like, which units can I actually add without making sure that I activate any traits? It can be sometimes quite rough to find the perfect units to fill up your board and make sure that you sort of like you maximize the augment. And with Double Trouble, all the problems are out of the window. I mean, if you end up playing just 4 of the same, not 4 of the same units, but if you play two times you do the Double Trouble and fill up the rest differently, it's very, very easy to avoid activating your traits. And it's definitely one of my favorite combos in the game. And I heavily recommend, if you see the opportunity, if you see the opportunity to combine both, do it. You won't regret it. But yeah, other than that, I think this was it for me. See you guys tomorrow.